Hello and welcome to Game Brigade. My name is Brian. If you're new here, I welcome you to the show. Today we are going to be talking about Ostia, but more importantly, we're going to be talking about the newest expansion that's coming to Kickstarter, Pirates. And I want to thank Uchibacoya for sponsoring today's video. We are going to be talking about the mechanics of Ostia in case you are new to this game. But we are going to be talking mostly about the expansion that Pirates is and all of the new things that are being presented so you have the best information when you're deciding to back this game. So first off, let's talk about the base game of Ostia. We're going to talk about this very briefly, and then we'll kind of take it from there so we can talk about the new changes coming forward here with the expansion. So Ostia is a game that's going to be taking place over this board, which has different types of territories that you're going to be traveling to as you eventually make your way to these end goals. There are 4 different end goals that you're going to reach as you take your little boats and you move them along the paths. There are different types of tiles that can provide resources if your boats land on them, and there are other different tiles that are ports that will provide different types of trade opportunities if you visit them and then eventually build at those different locations. But the core of the game will be taking place here on your port board. Now you'll see I've got a bunch of different little boats located down here. And the way this system works, it's very intuitive, very smart, and I love every aspect of this board. So the way it works is you're going to activate one of the 6 regions located here on the board. When you do that, you'll be generating resources for that specific type of location. So the different locations we have are the deeds or the permits that allow you to travel. We've got wood, which allows us to build. We've got wheat or grain, which allows us to feed our people. We've got stone, which allows us to build buildings. And then we've got trade, which also allows us to use gold and use gold in other ways. And our final action here doesn't have a resource associated to it, but it's more of a wild resource or wild action, as it allows you to choose one of the other locations for you to take additional actions with. But how does that work? Let's say, for example, I'm going to activate this region that has 3 boats in the permits section. Because we have 3 boats there, and I have a building that's built here that's adjacent that gives me a +1, we are going to generate 4 resources for this location. Now we are going to take each of our boats and we're going to move them along the path until we have no more boats that were located in that activated region. The final boat that I placed would be here in the build action, which means now we can take that build action. The build action allows us to build any of our buildings, which are represented by these discs. You would place them out on a location such as this, and then you take the building and you'll be placing it on either one of these sections, or we'll eventually talk about the new section that's brought to us in Pirates, this city board. But this mechanic is very interesting. As you then activate this system, you're going to put resources here. I put 3 here for those 3 boats. I then move here, and now because my final boat moved into the permit section, I will then take the move action where I can move a boat. We'll just choose one of these just for examples and move my boat along the path. That's the core concept of what this game does. Now there's different types of scoring. You're going to score for the amount of boats you have, the amount of buildings you have, the amount of these amphora that you've collected. There are other scoring opportunities with the cards, with pairing and matching. There's plenty of ways to score points in this game, and that's the way you're going to win. But the mechanics of the game are based on this board, the action selection and the mechanics there, and then moving along this track, visiting different locations, eventually trying to reach some of these end goals. So now that we've got that kind of core down, let's take a second and talk about now what Pirates brings to the table to kind of enhance or change this core mechanic overall. So the first thing we obviously want to talk about is Pirates. What is new with Pirates? It's obviously going to be bringing some sort of effect of Pirates, and you're going to see that there's these little black and red meeples that are pirate ships located throughout the board. These are there to kind of do 2 things. One, it's going to slow down the player's progression across the board, meaning that you're going to have to take different types of actions and different types of strategies to get past them. To get past a pirate, you have to have weapons to defend yourself, to be able to continue on your journey. The only way to do that now is with the new board that we have here, which is the barracks. The barracks has two different things that we can use to defend ourselves. We've got weapons and legionnaires. Weapons are only going to be able to be purchased from the trade action. And there's a conversion chart here that gives you a good handy way to see what kind of conversions you can do. I can trade 0 gold for 1 weapon, 1 gold for 2 weapons, 3 gold for 3 weapons, 6 gold for 4 weapons. So you can see as that progression raises, it gets a little bit less efficient as you move on. Then, if I want to use my weapons when I reach a pirate, based on this map over here, this event board, based on the color of the pirate, it'll tell you how many weapons you're going to need to defeat that level of pirate. So in the first section here, this is before any pirates have been defeated, it would take 2 weapons to defeat a black pirate and 4 weapons to defeat a red pirate. So if I had those 2 weapons, for example, and I wanted to have one of my boats traveling along this path, I would have to use these 2 weapons to even land on that location. Now this is important because one of the key actions in this game is build, and you cannot build at a location that you haven't yet visited, which means there's only 3 or so locations that are able for you to be built at before you're going to have to move forward and eventually face these pirates. This is something you're going to have to deal with at some point. Now, you saw that those weapons were expended, which means they are one-time use, but there is a way to make it more of an efficient action. Now, let's say I go back and I have those 2 weapons. Instead, I can do a free action to build a legionnaire. Now, a legionnaire costs, a level 1 legionnaire costs 2 weapons, 2 wood, and 2 food. As long as I have those resources, I would spend those resources, adding them back to the board, as well as my weapons. And I take a legionnaire from the top of the barracks board and I add them to the weapons section. Now that legionnaire counts as 1 weapon total. He doesn't go away, so if I end up fighting a pirate, he stays and counts as a +1 to my weapons. But in this situation, I still would need either another legionnaire or another weapon to even be able to pass through that pirate. The other thing that the legionnaires do is that they are going to provide you victory points based on the amount of treasure chests you recover. Every time you defeat a pirate and you're able to keep going, you're going to take one of these pirate chests from the top of the board and adding it to your treasure chest location. When this event board is fully removed of treasure chests, so once people have defeated pirates and these have all gone, there is going to be what's called an event that's going to trigger. It's going to be the first one that's uncovered here, and it'll tell you what you need to do. There's a wide variety of these, and there could be more. Now, this is obviously a prototype, so I don't know how many different types of events there are. In my prototype, I believe there are 6 or 7 or so for us to choose from and randomly decide. This one is asking what player has the furthest movement of boats along this board. And if there's a tie, there are rewards or penalties for that if you're either in first or last. So with that, we're going to chain over to the next thing as we talk about it. The penalties or rewards from these events are going to be bringing us over here to these disgrace tokens, these black tokens. These disgrace tokens are bad, as one could say. They are -7 victory points for each one. And if you are the first place person to win the event, if you have in this situation, the boat further, you will take a disgrace cube and return it back to the box. But if you were in last or tied for last, instead, you and everyone else you're tied with would add another disgrace. So these become very important to understand and to track as you go on. And then each player will earn gold based on the amount of treasure chests they have. We'll just throw some gold in there to show gaining gold. How do we get these disgrace and kind of what is their point? Well, we're now going to chain that to the next new added feature of this game. We have these supporter tiles and home city tiles. This is going to change Ostia from a purely symmetrical experience where it's just action efficiency, and adds in a little bit of asymmetrical powers and abilities to give each player a little bit of a guided direction of a path or power that might support them. So here I have some examples. We have the supporter tiles and the home city tiles, and these are going to be providing those benefits and buffs. You will draft in reverse player order, so fourth position will draft first, going to third, second, and then first player, and obviously then first player will then go first. You will select one of each. You'll select two of them, but one of each, one supporter, one hometown. And then these black cubes that are on here will be the amount of disgrace that you're going to start with. If it's kind of a grayed out cube, that means it doesn't give you any disgrace. You can see there are different varieties of disgrace that you can start the game with, and you are going to have to then utilize other strategies to remove your disgrace as you play the game. Now, we talked about one method of removing disgrace was through this event. This board, the event board, also has these black cubes that'll show if you are the one who that uncovers this pirate chest, you will also recover a disgrace token. So there are other ways to do it. Some of these supporter tiles and home city tiles even have methods as well to uncover those disgrace tokens if you're able to meet some sort of condition, which gives players a very interesting way to strategize about their game. I really like the fact that this is giving players an opportunity to guide them through their game, giving you a little bit more direction and choices as you play Ostia. So there has it. We've talked about the pirates that are blocking the board. We've talked about the new legionnaires and how they are going to effectively give you some weapon strength. They also buff up the treasure chests you're going to receive from when you defeat the pirates. You have the disgrace tokens that are going to affect your score and giving you a way to have to play the game through the new asymmetrical tiles of the supporter tiles and the home city tiles. We then have one final option to talk about. The final board, and I'm going to kind of make some room to talk about this over here, is the city board, or the Roman city board, as I guess they would call it. This is the final addition to the game, which gives players another way to strategize out your scoring opportunities. Ostia by itself is a point salad-y game. There's a lot of points coming from a lot of different sources, and it's your strategy to figure out how you're going to utilize those points. The Roman city board gives players an alternative option. Now, originally, when you built a building and you placed it here, you would take one of these buildings and place them on your port board, giving you some sort of passive buff for the rest of the game, either reducing the cost of an effect or giving you additional resources when you activate an action. Now you can place your city buildings over here onto the Roman city board, pay a cost, and get a benefit from this. Sometimes these tokens provide a end game scoring bonus. Sometimes they provide an instant reward, such as 3 weapons you can immediately add into your pool. Sometimes they give you an extra endgame scoring, such as this one that scores 1 extra VP per boat you've built. So if you're doing a strategy where you're trying to get as many boats as you can built, that might be something you're going to target because it's going to increase your boats by 1 victory point each time. And there's a factor scoring here. Is the more boats you have based on your reward section here on the tile will factor in terms of higher scoring probabilities. So you have a better way of scoring here, giving players a better opportunity to find different ways to win. That's pretty much the entire expansion as a whole. Now, if you would like to hear my thoughts with some of the group here at the Game Brigade Studios, we'll have another video where we're going to be talking specifically about our overall thoughts after we did some gameplay of this expansion in the game, so you guys can get our takes on overall how do we think about this one as a whole. I appreciate you guys for watching. My name is Brian from Game Brigade. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, I will talk to you very soon.